Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mardek, and today we are going to make our way into this volcano area that we've not yet been to. We've heard that, theoretically, the fire crystal might be in here, and well, I suppose it is a volcano, right? So maybe we shouldn't be terribly surprised by how we are currently surrounded by lava. Okay. So, perhaps we go in through this totally not intimidating room here, and see where we end up. Crimson Peak is the name of said volcano. 4 chests in here, and I would assume probably our fair share of fire monsters. We can perhaps talk to some of our friends here, because it has been a while, so we can see if they have any general updates or perhaps things to say about this specific area. As for Rohan, I have precious little to say about this furnace of the earth. Let us make a move on. Yeah, that's perhaps a good way to refer to it. Oh man, the music is rocking as well. As for Vern, sounds like this might be a general update about Vern, the character, rather than Vern's thoughts on this area. You know, you should really devote yourself to your lord. It's shocking to me that you've not got around to it yet. How can you survive being so tainted by sin and evil like this, with no hope for salvation? It makes me sick just looking at you, walking around as if you aren't some dragon slave. You're a real one-note character, aren't you? Roha, be nice. I can introduce you to Yalort, you know. I can show you the way. And through Yalort's love and blessings, you can be great like me. You know you want it. Excuse me, Vern? I will be here whenever you need me, friend. Just give me the word, and we'll get you converted into a good person quick as a flash. And before you know it, you'll actually feel happy and wanted for the first time in your life. Excuse me, Vern, what are you trying to say? Yalort is eternal, so he can wait forever. But your short time is limited, so get back to me soon, okay? Alright, but anything to say about the volcano in which we currently find ourselves? Oh, yes! Now this is an adventure. A place like this is not a worry to a paladin such as myself. Suck it up, my friends, and ignore the heat. We'll see if it actually gets to him or not. As for Solar, and Solar's music, I forget if I mentioned this before, but this competes with Zach's music for my favorite in the game. I don't know though, listening to it now, it's hard to say this doesn't take the cake. Why have we not foundified the Dark Crystal yet? I'm getting worried and worrieder about not having done this. The world, or many, are at risk of annihilation with that about in a demon's hands. Well, don't worry. We'll find it eventually. It must be hard being a guardian and knowing your crystal's gone. Mardek, don't remind Solar of that. Something tells me it's not sitting too well with them. Guardian? Huh? Are you not the guardian? Ah, righty, that thing, a guardian. And guardian, I am that. I'm the guardian of the Dark Crystal, and it is my fruity duty to protectify the thing as if it were my own wriggly little pup, full of slime and heaping for fat grubs, positively meeping. Okay. Hey, Solar, why are you light if you're the Dark Guardian? I thought that guardians were the same element as their crystals. Yeah, I think we were talking about that briefly when we first encountered Solar in the Dark Temple. It is perhaps a little bit odd. Are they supposed to be? I mean, yes, that's true. They are. But I'm not dark, no. Why I'm not? I don't know. It's just the fates playing games, let's say. Alright. Either that, or I have some kind of mysterious past thingy-wing. Woo! Woof! Woof! Well, I don't know. Do ya? Don't we all? Well, I don't really. My past is fairly boring and was mostly revealed in the game anyway. This is true, I suppose. But goggles! You're getting off into Bizarro land there. I don't make sense of it at all. Why don't we just continue onward with our questish things, eh? Okay. Again, that seems like that was more an update about Solar, the character, rather than Solar's thoughts on this location, so might still be more.
You may expect me to be panting, but alas, I won't let you be seeing that, because it won't be going to happen. I've frolicked in furnaces, sauntered on stars' faces, and so this heat can't beat even the pads on my feet. But
okay. Are you serious about sauntering on stars' faces? I'm not really sure what that means, but that sounds intense. Okay. Then lastly, that leaves Donovan, who is Fire Elemental.
So Mardek, I know how much Dugan's loss affected you. We can all see that it hurt you deeply. You've not been the same since he left our world. In many ways, you have improved. You've become more heroic, and you've been trying so hard to be the best knight you can be. But I can tell that you are lonely.
Are you sure about that?
I have a question for you, and I'm sure some of the others may have been wondering this too. We, as your allies, your companions, can we fill the hole in your heart that Dugan left?
That's a deep question there, Donovan.
Well, what I mean to say is, we are your friends, and we are here for you, for emotional support and to talk and listen. We're here to share your life with you, and I would just hope that you appreciate us rather than, well, ignoring us because we're not Dugan.
Well, do I ignore you? Sorry.
Well, no, not as such, but I do wonder sometimes if you even acknowledge us for who we are, or whether you don't want anyone to replace Dugan. Well, I do value you all and everything. It's just Dugan and I grew up together for all our lives. It might take a while to build bonds that strong with others. But I do love you all, honest. You're my friends, and I like being around you all.
You love us, eh? Good old Mardek.
I knew we'd mean something to you. That's all I wanted to know, so I'm glad I was able to hear it.
Oh, Donovan. Okay, and as I think I was saying a while ago with Charla, I'm pretty sure that it is actually the case that neither Donovan nor Charla have their own character-specific music. So I think that was technically another character-specific update, not so much Donovan's reflection on this area, of course. So let's try that one more time.
Coping with the heat all right, Sir Mardek?
Being of the fire persuasion, I'm finding this place rather relaxing and somewhat energizing. I can't remember when I last felt this alive. So there you have it. I suppose it is a good fit for fire elemental people. And as we make our way further along here, there's one large area, bridge, and another door. Odd, it seems there are, yes, 4 chests in here, however, clearly none along this pathway here. You can see a corner of an area there, and maybe at some point in time we'll be able to double back and find a way over to this left half here. Don't know what the deal is there, we'll have to check it out. So we go further into the volcano in that case. It is perhaps a little bit concerning. And okay, there's another door there. However, I see there's also perhaps a path to the left, and no sign of enemies yet, which seems a little bit odd. I would have expected us to perhaps run into a few at this stage. But maybe we're getting off easy for some reason? I don't know. Here we go. And who will we find? Magmazards. Okay. They look very similar to some of the lizards that we saw in the Sandflow Caves in particular. They are, of course, fire elemental, as we probably would expect to see in a volcano, and therefore do heal quite a bit to fire damage, which means that, Donovan, this might be a good time for us to say turn off your Soul Strike on your physical attacks. But water, if we can deal any water damage, would be extremely effective against them. No defense or magic defense, so in theory, doesn't matter whether we use attacks or magic. As for Solar here, I suppose that means we have some options. We could go with the Solar Flare, could go with Physical Attack. Physical Attack will be Earth Elemental, but that shouldn't make much of a difference relative to the Light Elemental Solar Flare. Maybe let's go with the Solar Flare, because I think Solar has higher Spirit than they do strength, and therefore this might be more damage, although it's not enough to take this guy out. And they do go next, and they will target Donovan, burn, and yes, I suppose, probably should have expected that they can freeze fire. Attacking Mardek, that's not a huge concern. Okay, Vern, similar story here. You're not going to have any ways of dealing water damage unless, of course, people happen to have some of the very cold water, I think is the name of the water damaging potion. But this is just our random encounter. Surely we don't need that here, right? So maybe we try out Vern's new sword that we've not yet had the chance to do any attacks with. So I think, again, let's opt for the weakest enemy here just to see how much damage he can deal. And oh no. Lots of people on very low HP, but no one who is completely done for yet. So that's a little bit concerning. Donovan, I think what we want to do is we want to use physical attack, and we want to deliberately miss our reaction. Again, so that we make sure that this does not go fire elemental, otherwise it would heal these guys. Mardek, pretty sure you're going to be our most consistent source of damage. There are 3 people with 550 life. Can you deal that much damage? Oh, not like that. You can't. Not like that. Okay, so Solar. Yes, now just go with the physical attack. Take this guy out. You can leech some life with physical attack, so I suppose in that way it is a little bit preferable to go that route. Maybe that's enough of a tiebreaker. And yeah, you guys have dealt a reasonable amount of damage to people, so that is perhaps a bit concerning here. And we now have one with 706 life, which is going to be certainly an enemy that takes at least 2 turns to take down, and the one with 550, and maybe if we get lucky, Vern does have a reasonable crit chance. But unfortunately, still not enough there. Donovan, I think, yeah, maybe let's go for a non-offensive reaction attack against that guy there. Mardek, yes, I do think you're still dealing the most damage. So Lar, let's finish it off. Leech some HP. Yeah, so if that's any indication of the type of enemies we're supposed to be fighting in and around this area, then that could be a little bit tricky here. Donovan masters Insomnia there, which is useful. Perhaps time to look at what else he might be able to work on in its place. If, say, we were to get rid of Insomnia, well, he does have at least 5 RP to spend here. We could even get rid of +2 strength and give ourselves 9 to work with. However, it seems like since he's mastered everything except for Bright Eyes, probably time to throw on something else. If we had a consistent way of dealing water damage, that would be very helpful right around now, because it seems like Donovan, I mean, you with primarily fire damage attacks are maybe not the best option to have right now, and other people with mostly light attacks, not going to be particularly effective or ineffective, but we could use someone who's a bit of a specialist in this circumstance, I think. But anyways, for Donovan now, at least, we're trying to get rid of Insomnia, or at least the Moonstone Ring that's given us Insomnia, and replacing that with some new skill. What might be the way to go? Might we want to pick up some additional agility? We have already done that. I was thinking that that might be another way to make sure that we get a few more attacks in before the enemies get the chance of dealing damage to us, because we took a fair amount of damage in that previous fight. Other than that, MP, he's done that as well. Might need to look at other people's inventories, see what we've not yet carried over to Donovan. Has he done drain HP? Let's double check. He has, okay. Other than that, he's currently working on Bright Eyes, so that's not a concern. Could even consider throwing on something like Fire Pendant for fire resistance. I mean, we'd expect to have a fair amount of fire damage in here, I would assume, right? He's mastered that as well, okay. Wow, Donovan mastered more skills than I realized, in which case, could throw on Degeneration. I doubt he's learned that. It's not exactly something I'd say is a particularly high priority right now. Maybe even Antibody if he hasn't done that yet. Let's give that a shot, maybe. I suppose Fire Pendants are useful even if you have already mastered this defensive reaction, because they give passive 50% fire resistance, so I think we're doing some of this in the Serpent's Lair with the Water Pendants, where we just loaded up on as many of these pendants as we could, and it made so that enemies were dealing next to no damage to us. So if we're concerned about not dealing much damage, then perhaps we just load up on the defenses and ought to go a slower and steadier pace with our fights. Okay, so at least for now, though, let's try Antibody on Donovan, and let's also remember to take off his Soul Strike reaction. Oh, he has done Degeneration as well. He has some strange abilities that we've taught him already. Things that would normally be relatively low priority. Okay, so in the meantime, while he's working on Bright Eyes and Antibody, let's say put on, +2 Strength for a little more firepower. And then what else is down here in this area? This does seem like it's that left side that we were thinking about previously when we were going through. This was the entrance. We saw there were 4 chests. Saw there was this area here, but I assume those 4 chests are somewhere on this side. Otherwise, where are they? Okay. Coins, yes, and then another cave of sorts? A save crystal and a person? Hold on. Saving is useful, or at least healing is, given how much damage we took. Let's maybe loot first, ask questions later. Silver ore, another limited resource, valuable one at that, for crafting. Barely, we've seen some of it. Don't think that's as notable, but it's a hermit. Who in the name of buggering Bertram are you lot? What do you want with this old hermit, eh? I do so hope that you have not come to tempt me into purchasing some utterly odious confectionery. I do so abominate that sort of thing. What? Well, I'm Mardek, a royal knight from Gosnor, and these are my friends. Is that so? I see. I'm a maddened old hermit, as you can see. Yes, I'm quite mad. Quite mad. Yes, mad. You know, not entirely sane. I lost my marbles so long ago that I can't even remember what they looked like. Maybe they were tubular to begin with? That explains a lot. Or anywho, make yourselves at home, I'd say. If I consider this a home, which I don't, because it's a cave. I just happen to reside here most of my time because the monsters don't actually come in here. Strange, that. Would you like a cup of tea? Or a donut? A donut? What? Where'd you get a donut? Yes, please? I guess? Yes, me too. It's been a long time since I had anything nice like that. I mean, I do live in a cave, you know. Did I tell you that I was mad? Quite mad. Okay. Now, to business. What brings you to my tiny and altogether far too hot cave here in this utterly hostile volcano? Yeah, many questions. Maybe let's start with, who are you? I am but a simple mad hermit who lives in a cave in a volcano. Is that so unusual? Yeah, I'd say so. Well, yes. I suppose it is, isn't it? When you really think about it. Oh, unusual indeed. Actually, though, don't tell a soul this, not even yourself, and especially not me. Who knows who I'd end up telling. But I am actually what is called a shaman. I just happen to have gone quite mad in my isolation here in this cave. I'd be really lonely if the walls didn't talk to me, you know? Okay, sure. Sounds great. Any old who, is there anything else that you person or persons require of this mad old codger who happens to be myself? Other than that, do you happen to know where we could find any of the crystals? We had reason to believe that the fire crystal might be in here somewhere. Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. I know a lot about the fire crystal specifically, because it can be found in the back of this cave. What? This specific cave? Well, not this tiny cave, that I don't call my home. I call her Margaret sometimes, though. But this volcano cave. There's a temple at the back with the fire crystal inside. Okay. Yes, that's very useful information. I would ask why you're after the crystals, but honestly, I'm too mad to care. Hooray! I'm pretty sure that's your job, but sure. In which case, I suppose that's just about everything with this hermit? Farewell, person who may or may not be a figment of my dazed and maddened imagination. Be sure to exit the cave on your way out. Yeah? Is there any way that we would not be exiting the cave? I don't know. Let's take a quick second here at Save Crystal. to perhaps double check if there are any specific items that we feel like we might want to put on, given how we know that this is going to be a very fire-themed area, and perhaps we didn't see too many things that were all that convincing when we were looking to equip Donovan just a few minutes ago. And, Amethyst for clarity and resisting confusion. It would perhaps be useful to at least have that on hand in case we find that that is something we're going to want in the future, but hard to say at this point. That might have just been a fairy type of thing. Earth resistance? Unlikely, I would think. Other than that, probably good idea to at least gather all of our fire pendants. Maybe even a belt of movement. Just put them on people that we are going to have in our party at the moment. Other than that, Zach, more fire pendants. Let's take them. Elian, perhaps another belt of movement. Is there a reason to stockpile even more of them? Don't know, but sure, maybe we want people to be quick, because they do give +3 agility. That is something. Gloria, don't think you're hogging too much other than maybe the amethyst earring. If, again, we find that confusion is important. And basically nothing on Meriador. We've already taken our fair share of confusion resistance things, so okay. Noted. Oh, however, if we were to swipe his coat, that does have fire resistance. Yes, he is close to mastering the defensive reaction on it. However, if we could say put this on someone like Donovan, well, I'm not sure if he has mastered that or not. He is not. To give him an additional 50 fire resistance would be quite good, because he is fire elemental already, and that is 20% resistance to start with, so that plus this gets him all the way up to 70. Not bad. Not bad. At the very least, makes it so that it's hard to take him down in here, I would think. Okay. Do a quick heal, and let's get on out of here. So, did those chests technically count as ones in this area? I don't think so, just based on how we still only see that we've gotten 1 out of 4. And there seems to be another door up here. However, there's also a path over here. And I can't really tell where that one leads. So I'm not sure which route is best to go here, but fight that we cannot escape. Notably, we have a Temperance, which we saw in the Sun Temple. However, this one, I'm guessing it might be a slightly higher level. It's level 20. I doubt we had a level 20 enemy way back in the Sun Temple. Other than that, Lava Blobs, let's take a look at all of them. So the Temperances, remember, they can change an element based on which of the heads is on top, and the head that you see on top here is not actually representative of what the actual head on top is. We would have to say, click off of it to see that it is water, in truth, so it is water elemental. Now it actually shows the correct one. And also, its attributes will change based on which head is on top. Water is typically the spirit-heavy element, so therefore, this is a little bit more spirit-heavy here. It does have some magic defense, and it does have a lot of water resistance. Some fire resistance as well, however, it is actually most weak to Earth. That is quite convenient for Solar, because Solar's physical attacks are Earth elemental. So that's a good thing for us to do there. Lava Blobs, it's been a while since we've seen oozes, but these are technically kind of ooze, which means they are going to have humongous physical defense, 40 in this case. They are also extremely resistant to fire, and quite weak to water. So, again, if there were a way for us to consistently deal water damage, I don't think there is, but that'd be quite useful right about now. A little bit of resistance to both air and earth, which is unfortunate because I think that is Solar and Vern's elements with their normal attacks right now. So that's going to be a tough fit for them. But let's start off, at least, using a physical attack with Solar against the Temperance. Gets rid of roughly half of its HP, but it's going to be hard to take this guy out in one hit. Vern does, of course, have Green Lightning, which is Earth Elemental. It's a spell that we haven't used very often, because for the most part, it is not that strong unless and until you start making a point of scaling his spirit. He only starts off with 10, which is quite low for a spellcaster. We've boosted it by 1, so I think for the most part we're probably going to be underwhelmed here, but let's at least check it out. Yeah, 148. Good to know for the future, but I think that's not going to be so great for us going forward, unless we scale that spirit even more. Donovan, I think we did unequip the Soul Strike, so you're probably in the clear to take out, yes, the Temperance there. The Oozes go next, and they do have that really high physical defense. It's going to be hard to break through that with someone like Mardek, but we can give it a shot. Yeah, not enough offense there. We're going to have to see what the best way to take these guys out is. I think it's going to be magic. Whoa, lava splatter hitting everyone with fire damage. There you see Donovan having the really high fire resistance. Only took just above 10 damage from it. 70 there. Let's take a look at what everyone's fire resistance is right now. 0 for Solar, 0 for Vern, and 30 for Mardek. So we could find a way to boost the defenses for either of these two. I think we'll find that's quite meaningful. Solar, I think we're going to want to use a Solar Flare against these guys, because otherwise we're going to have a tough time taking them out with more physically oriented characters. And unfortunately, Donovan, although he does have access to fire skills, including the new burn ability that we got from this new spear that we've now given him, as it's fire, not going to do too much against these guys. Burns the target's skin, lowering defense. The damaged tissue may cause numbness. So it lowers defense. It may not deal damage directly, but if we could say bump down from 40 to somewhere in the 30s, maybe we start to get to the point where Mardek or Vern could start to deal some damage to him. Vern has 36 base attack, whereas Mardek has 32. So I think that's roughly going to be the number we're looking for here. It will, of course, heal the ooze, because it's fire damage, and the ooze has more than 100% fire resistance, but since it had full HP to begin with, that wasn't terribly concerning at the moment. My real question is, can Mardek now deal any damage to it at all? Still no. Notably, still no. Vern, Green Lightning, we saw it didn't deal a lot of damage, but it might still be enough here. Some, but yeah, not going to be enough to take it out. Solar seems like you are definitely going to be the primary person. And so that's going to be a bit of an issue, I think, going forward. Unless and until we can find a way to deal more damage with magic. Mana Berry, of course, can help us with restoring some of our MP, which is, I suppose, indirectly related to magic. Vern actually masters resist water there. That is significant, because that does mean that Vern can now swap off from the Trilobite armor, which he's been using for a very long time here, and put on something new. What would we like to put on in its place? That's a good question. Perhaps the Solakian Plate Mail, because that has resist light, and just generally 9 defense, plus 2 spirit, is not bad at all for him. And also some resistance to air. Not sure how much of that we're going to see, however, we were just talking about how we want to get more spell power and get an additional spirit. Could be a good way to do that. Other than that, Vern is using an Earth Pendant right now, and sure, it'd be nice at some point to master this, but I think that's not going to be terribly significant right now, given how, as we saw, most enemies are going to be dealing fire damage, not Earth. So, what I'm thinking is either we throw on a Fire Pendant, for defensive reasons, of course, giving that 50% fire resistance, or we deliberately try to put on an item that gives a lot of spirit, because the Fire Pendant may be good defensively, 2 magic defense, as well as that resistance, but doesn't boost spirit at all, so it would be great if we could also find a way to do that, because I think that we're going to want to have more offense from Vern of the spell variety. Mardek can't do it at all. Donovan can, but unless we're fighting enemies that are actually not resistant to fire or healing to fire, that's going to be very tough for Donovan to put much use into his spells. So we do have, just a normal Ring of Spirit, which is quite bad, I would argue. +1 spirit. Could get +2 from the Elordian Amulet. It is the one that originally gave Vern the Green Lightning ability. So, still not a huge fan of this. As you can probably tell, going through this area with a team that is not necessarily ideal for the set of circumstances in which we find ourselves right now. But we'll see if we can make do, because these are, of course, people that we have not had the chance to play with all that often. So, let's move on and make sure that we have Vern equipping his new skills. He has not mastered Purity yet. We'll probably get rid of Resist Water, because, I mean, it's not going to be so relevant here. Other than that, he does still have 4 RP. Could resist blindness, sleep, give him a little bit of agility. Maybe we go with blindness. And the defensive side of things is where we picked up the light, which he can throw on because he has a lot of RP. And then Solar, I thought I saw for magic defenses, you just mastered Resist Dark. Was that coming from the Black Hat? It was. This is quite good. However, we might want to swap that onto someone else who has not yet learned that ability, because it's quite good. So, I don't think Vern has mastered it yet. I think that Donovan has, because we got it back in the Dark Temple. And it does mean that Solar would be hard-pressed to find a replacement helmet, because Solar cannot wear helmets, only hats. Maybe for that reason we do still keep things as they are on the helmet side. Yeah. Okay, so let's press onward here. Hopefully, we've set Vern up for a little bit more effective spells. And maybe even some better defenses. Okay, so this is a way out of this area, it would seem. And not entirely sure. There's another door here. There are so many doors in this area. We've not found 3 of the 4 chests in this area, so I think they must be somewhere in this spot up here. Let's try going that way in that case. See if we can find those, because, I don't know, could be helpful. Lots of lava blobs, and I'm not thrilled to see that, given how much trouble we had with them last time. Solar, if you are prioritizing them early, then maybe that will help. You can get rid of 1 right off the bat. Vern with Green Lightning. Now that we've boosted your spirit a little bit more, it was 11 last time, now it's up to 15. We dealt something like 30 damage with it in the previous fight, which was nowhere near enough. This time round, it's actually a pretty significant boost. Obviously not enough to take one out in one hit, but if we could find a way to pick up 1 or 2 more spirit, then might be starting to enter important territory where suddenly we deal enough damage. And so it looks like the burn can reduce a range of defense when it hits the opponent, and last time round we got -8. I'm guessing that is probably the highest it can go, because much like with Solar's Spirit Craft ability, that can boost spirit by up to 8. I think, generally speaking, things that boost attributes and things of that sort, the range tends to be between 2 and 8. So got lucky last time, this time more so the run-of-the-mill. And even with that -8 defense last time, Mardek was still not able to deal damage, so for that reason I think, Mardek, you are not going to find yourself terribly useful right now. Sort of maybe putting on a magic shield on someone who might be kind of vulnerable. I think the answer to that might be Solar. So I do expect these guys to use magic abilities. It does help mitigate some of the damage on Solar. And it is also, of course, important to keep Solar up so that they can do that. I suppose, Vern, you now do have enough damage that you can at least make a point of taking people out with 2 hits on Green Lightning. Whereas with about 30 damage, it was going to take a while. So that's something. And it does make me curious as to whether there are any ways for us to eke out just a little bit more on the spirit side of things for Vern. He's getting +1 from the Candriathode. But is there anything else that could give us more than that? Or maybe even a helmet? Regal Crown, I do think, gives +1 to all attributes. Whereas the Skull Helm gives +2 to Vitality and has better defense and magic defense. But I think that might be a sacrifice that we're willing to make here, just to see if 1 additional spirit is enough for Vern to suddenly be able to take out those oozes in 1 hit. It does also, of course, give Vern access to the double gold ability, which may or may not be something we could squeeze on here. If, say, we got rid of 20% experience and didn't feel like we needed Bright Eyes or Purity, then we could make it happen. And to some extent, I feel like neither of these are super important. So maybe soon, if we find that Vern levels up quickly and or masters plus 20% experience, then we might be willing to throw on double gold in its place. But anyways, let's head back over to that other area and see if we can find those missing chests before we move out of this area. Charred bones, okay? First time we've seen these guys. They look like skeletons. They are technically undead, and that is great to see, because they are very weak to light. We have lots of light elemental characters here. And also because they're undead, means that Vern could use abilities like Disrupt Undead, even though they're not dark elemental. So these guys, I would think, should be comparatively easier for us, except 30 defense is quite a lot. So, with that in mind, Solar Flare definitely sounds like that's going to be great, because that is magic and it is light. So more than enough to take them out. They use some fire, physical attacks, ooh, and inflict numb as well. Which means that Vern not going to be able to use physical attacks, which is very unfortunate because those were basically all the things we were planning on using with him. Green lightning against these guys. They have 50% earth resistance. I don't think it's going to be all that much damage. Let's give it a shot. 87. Yeah, not great. And I'm assuming we weren't looking too much at fire, but yeah, very resistant to fire. So again, Donovan, gonna be tough for you to take any offensive turns here, but you can remove Vern's numbness, so set him up for the future. Mardek, now is your time to shine. Or so I thought. These guys are weak to light, yes, but that high defense rating is still enough to mitigate much of Mardek's damage. So, that means that Solar, you are the king in terms of damage, it would seem. Maybe Vern, if you can manage to get off a Disrupt Undead. Okay, that works too, so important that we keep him unnumbed in that case. Don't ask me how Vern is stabbing his saber into the ground like that. Also, the ability to remove numb with that potion that we just picked up, that will be helpful too. I think this is the area that we've not yet explored. And what is over here? Because it seems like you're hiding stuff from us. Any sign of those chests? Still no. And an unskippable fight here against more Magmazards. Okay, so these guys, what have we learned? I believe they were the first fight we had in here. And at that point in time, we were still figuring out what we were trying to expect in this area. No major defenses, other than just lots of resistance to fire. So I think that meant that, yeah, we probably want to leech some life with Solar using a physical attack, as otherwise, Solar's actually taking a fair share of damage. A little bit concerning. 19 healing is probably not going to be enough to make much of a difference there. Vern, do you have enough damage to finish this one off? You do. That's good to see. And I'm happy to see that you are attacking people other than Solar. However, Vern also needs some healing, so we should be making more of a point. Uh-oh. Yup. Of healing in between fights. I admittedly was not focusing on that very much. Donovan, you could use a physical attack here and hit your reaction because we removed Soul Strike. So that's fair game. Question then is, do we attack one that has a lot of HP, one that has a little bit of HP? I think you're not going to be able to take one out in one hit here. So, I think we do keep that in mind and deliberately have two people attack the one with the most health. It's enough for Vern to level up, which is nice. Not sure you're going to have enough damage, though, to take one of these guys out here. For that reason, oh, except you proved me wrong. Happy to see it, though. You do target Vern, he is definitely going to need a heal as well. But I think here, should be okay between Donovan and Mardek. Taking this guy out, and then we'll heal everybody back up, including Solar, of course, as well as Vern. Fire Essence, I don't think we've seen much of it, if any, at this point. Probably did have some in the Ropolis shops that we may or may not have chosen to purchase. But good to see that we picked some up for free. So let's definitely heal. Solar needs it most, but Vern not far behind. And now, very strange, there are apparently 3 chests in this area that we have not yet found, and yet I have no idea where they are. So we'll head through this area and go into a spot with 10 chests? Excuse me? Sounds like this might be a huge spot of the volcano. More unavoidable battles. This time, more charred bones. So we definitely want to solar flare these guys. Oh, you know what? We could Spirit Craft on Vern with Solar and use that maybe less so in this fight, but more so for the other ones against the oozes in particular, where we're talking about trying to get green lightning to deal as much damage as possible. It is unfortunate because it does mean that we're taking away a turn from what would otherwise be our best offensive character in order to boost up someone else and make them roughly on par with said person. So yeah, it still might not be for the best, but at least in this case, definitely does make sense for us to go this route here. We hope that Vern does not get numbed. That way Vern will be able to take one of these guys out in one hit. Actually, Donovan does. Which of all the people to get numbed, probably the person we'd be most okay with. So we can Disrupt Undead. Probably want to target the one with the most HP here. Nice, so another one down. Donovan, you will need to remove numbness if you want to be able to take a turn yourself. Though we could have made the case for, like we did with the oozes, deliberately burning one of these guys to reduce their defense, because we saw Mardek can deal some damage, but not a lot. And so that would suggest that with less defense, Mardek might be able to take one of these guys out in one hit. Even if he crits, though, still not enough. So Solar, let's get this guy. Means 1 turn remaining, and they fortunately miss. So Burn, not Smite Evil, Disrupt Undead. So there are ways to make it happen. It's a little bit strange. Donovan in particular seems like it's tough to work around all of his fire skills. There is notably a wall there. And it seems as though there are potentially many chests that is blocking. So we'll make our way further into this volcano here. And I think this might be a good place for us to wrap up here, because based on how many areas there are in this volcano here, that we have a lot of ground to cover. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys off here. Next time we'll see where exactly does all this stuff lead to. Supposedly, there might even be a fire temple in here.